Party people, Tony Rowe here, and I have a bone to pick. I think that Halloween, the holiday, and Halloween, the Gambit, both are trash. Not the movies. The Halloween movies are tight. Um, let's start with the holiday. Okay, there are a lot of problems with the holiday. The first one is that once you're an adult, you have to buy all of the candy. And yeah, you get to choose your favorite candies, but you end up giving most of it out. You have to take 3 hours, hang out with all these kids, most of whom are ungrateful a-holes, to be fair. Kids in general, cool. Kids on Halloween, not as cool. If you're like me and you have a dog, your dog's losing his mind. The doorbell goes off every, minute, and then he's losing his mind, okay? And then, also, again, I realize some of these are Tony Rowe specific. I'm a type 1 diabetic. Halloween candy is borderline poison. Okay. Let's see. What else? Costumes. Costumes are crap. Usually, I'm a procrastinator. Again, I realize these kind of fall on me. Starting to look like it's mostly me that's the problem. You go to a Halloween store and they charge you $50 for a dumb hat and some cheap shirt that was made in China for 50 cents. Okay. And really, it just has sort of an all-around crappy New Year's Eve energy with more commitments. It's like you always are just going to go over a friend's house and drink and hang out, except now you have to wear a stupid costume instead of just acting like normal human beings. And let's be honest, most of the adults wear crappy costumes, and then 1 hour into the party, they take them all off. So that's my thoughts on Halloween, the holiday. If you disagree, throw it in the comments. I will probably refute your arguments as well, unless you do something really cool on Halloween, in which case maybe you can flip me. Let's get to the Gambit, okay? So if you guys aren't familiar with the Gambit, the Halloween Gambit, it comes from the 4 knights. So e4, e5, double king pawn, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight to f6. And then white goes knight takes e5. And I think this is also called the Mueller-Scholl's Gambit, but I'm not positive. Another old school fact about this Gambit that I was remembering when making this series is that there used to be a bot on ICC, back when ICC was the only platform you could play online chess on. There used to be this bot called Browse, or Browse. I'm not sure if it was German and that's how you pronounce it, but and all it did was play the Halloween Gambit. If you played e4, e5, it was going to force the Halloween Gambit against you, and I think it just had an opening book that had built up over time, and this engine was I think around 23 or 2400 and would just whack people over the whack humans over the head with the Halloween Gambit nonstop. But it's not good. It's not good. And especially this is one of those gambits that ages very poorly. The better computers get and the more opening theory happens, the worse and worse the Halloween Gambit's going to get until it's just completely unplayable. But I have 3 solutions to the Halloween Gambit. The first 2 are very easy practical ideas where you pretty much just give back the piece and you end up better or very easily equal, and it's really white who has to watch himself. And then the third one is the attempted all-out refutation where you just keep the piece, you retreat all your knights like an idiot, and then you just try and buckle down and hold on to the piece and actually win. So let's take a look at them. Let's see how quickly I can knock out the Halloween Gambit. So we're obviously going to take the knight. White replies with d4, kicking the knight. And in both of my easy solutions, we're going to go knight c6, and then white almost always continues with d5, hitting the knight again. Knight e5, and now f4. So really you can kind of see what white's banking on here. It almost looks like an Alekine's 3 pawns attack or 4 pawns attack, where it's sort of supercharged, but also white's down a piece. So again, we go d4, knight c6, d5, knight e5, f4, knight g6, e5, and you can go knight g8 here, but just to be give a little bit of credit to the Halloween Gambit, you can see what happens. After knight g8, d6 is fairly dangerous. After c, d, e, d, knight b5 to c7 check would be an absolute beatdown. And also there's there's looming queen e2 check stuff when you have to throw your piece back in the way. For instance, the obvious move here would be knight f6, but queen e2 check forces you to pretty much throw the bishop in the way. D takes e7, knight takes e7, and after like there are probably multiple moves here, but bishop e3, castles long. White is like very clearly better. Black has really bad dark squares, awkwardly placed pieces. This isolated d pawn here. Let's highlight this red if I remember how. So again, like bad things can happen to you, but okay. F4, knight g6, e5, and the first option is just going giving up the piece here and going bishop c5. And so you can kind of see a downside to the Halloween Gambit already, is that like when you push all of these pawns forward, you can't bring them back. And so like the bishop, because white has already pushed like the d pawn and e pawn and f pawn past, like this bishop on c5 is actually a monster, right? And it becomes very hard for white to find a way to deal with the king. So I think taking is pretty much forced here, or else white ends up risking giving black like better versions of the Halloween Gambit where, you know, maybe black moves the knight later, but has the bishop on c5 already. And after e takes f6, we just castle. Now, if white gets too greedy, he would lose like pretty much instantly to rook e8, bishop e2, and then queen h4 check. And white would have to go g3, but then after queen h3, yeah, this thing is just a mess. This is a massive threat. And if white has to meet this with rook f1, then queen takes h2, queen takes g3, check starts happening, and it's all coming apart. The only game to reach this position, white went queen to d3. This was Kopylov, Biryukov in 2013, and after rook e8 check, bishop e2, d6, bishop d2, queen takes f6. Black was already pretty much winning, I think. I mean, knight takes f4 is a threat. Bishop g4 is very annoying. I think white decided to, in the game, go queen g3 to stop both of these things, but then after this b5 move, very beautiful, white was in a lot of trouble. The point, of course, is like knight takes b5 is probably met by queen takes b2 with a double attack on this rook and this knight. Bishop c3 doesn't work in that case because queen b5 exploits the pin on this bishop. And if white doesn't take, then b4, like bishop a6 or b4 followed by queen e7, we just gang up on this pin piece. We're removing the defender of knight c3. So this is very bad. A better move after castles is just bishop e2, and then either queen takes f6 or rook e8 is reasonable. I looked at queen takes f6 in more detail, and white should go knight e4, eliminating the bishop. Queen d3, looking to go bishop e3, rook e8, bishop d2, d6. These are all just like typical moves. Castles. White finally gets the king to safety, but then black has this really nice shot, bishop f5. Queen takes f5, rook e2. The point is just to accelerate black's development a little bit and get this rook onto the 7th. We were hitting g2, g3, and then queen c4. And I left it here. This is move 17. It's actually just ridiculous to be analyzing the Halloween Gambit this far anyway, but I think black is better here, or at least has the initiative. His king is much safer. After rook a to e8, his pieces are very harmonious. This knight can come to e7, attack this d5 pawn. a2 is under attack. Yeah, this rook on the 7th is much better than anything white has going on. So I think this is a very practical idea. The second pragmatic refutation to the Halloween Gambit is relatively known by now, I think. In doing like a modicum of research for this video, I saw that Pinsky and Larry Kaufman, Jan Pinsky and Larry Kaufman, both who wrote books that cover the Halloween Gambit, recommended bishop b4 here, sacrificing the knight on c6 instead of the knight on f6. Both are good. The point here is that d takes c6 can be met by knight takes e4. And actually, this is very dangerous for white. The only move that's playable is queen d4. There are a lot of other moves that look kind of obvious, though, like queen e2 is very bad after just castles. Reason being is that queen takes e4, of course, rook e8 is terrible, and there's still this looming threat of knight takes c3. That would not be advisable. Similarly, queen g4 castles, same thing. Queen g4 attempting to hit g4 and this at the same time makes no sense because, again, this is losing. And again, this lingering threat. This one might actually be even worse because now with the queen on g4, there's also d5 gains a move. For instance, bishop e2 here, d5 hitting the queen, queen f3 takes, and black is actually up a pawn with a better position after something like this. I saw that in the Lichess database. By the way, Lichess database, fantastic resource. I'm not even talking about the Masters database, which is obviously quite nice as well. Just being able to see the huge number of games that have been played on Lichess in any position gives you like a really good statistical idea of, number one, what's most popular and like what people intuitively pick as far as like opening moves go. But also, yeah, it's just the benefit is like being able to see what people, normal average chess players, like who are in the sort of like online bulk of the bell curve pick, but also just getting like a huge database relative to like what you can get if you just keep track of Twit games or whatever. But it looks like a lot of people chose like the ultra pragmatic c takes d7, bishop takes d7, bishop d2, just trying to like keep material even with c takes d7 and then protect the knight. But this actually loses immediately to a really beautiful shot. If you want to pause the video, you can pause the video here and see what it is. Talk about Halloween surprises. This one's a pretty one. Bishop g4, really cool deflection or removing the defender. Queen takes g4, of course, would allow queen d2 mate, so that is ill-advised. And f3 would allow queen h4 check. Like, for instance, something like this would be a complete blowout. Actually, in this case, even after h takes g3, you probably wouldn't even take the rook. You'd go queen takes g3, king e2, bishop takes f3 check, and then you'd bag the queen instead. Let me clean up my analysis here. I'm making a mess. So bishop g4, you pretty much have to go bishop e2, but then after bishop takes e2, this is very surprising to me. Queen takes d2, queen takes d2, knight takes d2, king takes d2, castles check, very cool. Castles on move 13 long with check. White's actually losing. You actually can't hold White's position together. For instance, just like I think king c1, rook h e8, and on the next move we're going to take here, and put our rook on e2. And there's like a massive threat of just putting both your rooks on the 7th and taking all of the pawns. Analyze it for yourself. I think Stockfish, let's see, what does it give? Like, yeah, my Stockfish at depth 20 gives minus 4.5 already, which is pretty insane in a rook endgame on move 13. But yeah, completely indefensible. So going back to bishop b4, takes, knight e4, White pretty much has to go here. We can't just castle in this case because he's hitting the bishop at the same time. So we go queen e7, threatening a really fat discovery here and also protecting this bishop. Again, queen e4, we would just take here, or we'd take check first, whatever. Bishop e3, getting ready to castle long and also blocking the discovery. Castles, bishop d3, actually threatening to take the knight now. Knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop d6, c takes b7. This is just a sample line. Bishop takes b7, and now castles, dealing with this threat. Yeah, that was probably a threat. Rook g1, and then we can go bishop e5, so we don't get mated on g7. Yeah, and then I think just bishop e5 here, for instance. And this isn't a tremendous amount for black, but I would say black's slightly better. I would prefer black's pawn structure slightly to these double isolated c-pawns. These 3 pawn islands are slightly better than these 3 pawn islands, and this pawn is by far the biggest feature in the position. I would say black's minor pieces are slightly better. Yeah, tiny advantage for black, but White also had to walk through a minefield of terrible options to get to this position. So again, another very easy refutation. Bishop b4, d takes c6, knight e4. Only move queen d4, queen e7. It's pretty much all you got to know. And you're set. Okay, let's look at the big boy now. Okay, so after d4, in this case, we're going to go knight g6 instead. So in the previous example, we went knight c6, d5, knight e5, f4. In this one, we're just going knight g6. And similarly, because black's knights lack stability in the center, White just keeps pushing. And now we're going to go knight g8. So in this case, we're moving our knights back as far as they'll go, and we're just accepting that we're going to be like moderately uncomfortable for like the next 10 moves, trying to hold on to this piece. And white's really the main move by far. Let me check the opening database real quick. The main move by far is bishop c4. So on Lee chess, bishop c4 has been played almost 34,000 times. Nothing else comes even close. Queen f3 has been played like 1,000 times. So we'll start with this move. Let's just talk about queen f3 first. It's really just a transposition. White is going to go bishop c4 on the next move. Almost guaranteed. Black has two good options here. The first is just to transpose to pretty much our main coverage by going c6, and then after bishop d5, you just go here. And of course, white is sort of honor bound to take if you don't go bishop c4 and give black d5 for free unless you're going to take en passant. And then bishop e6 meets the mate threat and looks to lop off another piece. And after that, black has relatively clean development, bishop d6, and either the knight goes here or the knight goes here, and we can castle, and for the most part, black is just up a piece. So that would be completely winning. The other option here after queen f3 is to go d5 immediately. The problem for white, of course, is that queen takes d5. It's actually even winning for black to just go queen takes d5, knight takes d5, and king d8. Of course, when you're down a piece, trading queens is very frowned upon. So more likely would be something like knight d5. But in this specific case, I think either bishop e6 or c6, and then knight e3, queen d4, knight c3, queen d4, whatever, and white center is falling apart. Yeah, it's all pretty bad. So I wouldn't recommend queen f3 for white, but it is maybe slightly tricky compared to the main line. So bishop c4, main move, and now there are a couple moves here. I think Oiva in like one of those bulk opening manuals, maybe it's MCO or Encyclopedia of Chess Openings, recommend d5. D5 also good here. I'm going to recommend c6 instead. Very rare move, not a novelty yet though. And white has, I would say, three main choices. The first one is obvious, castles. The second one also fairly obvious, queen f3. And then the third one is like this slightly, I would say, trickier queen e2, developing the queen and also maybe dissuading d5 because of e takes d6 en passant check instead. So let's go with castles first. Let's go with queen f3 first because we already kind of covered it. We'll cover it in just slightly more detail. So d5, again, this is our plan with c6 the whole time. E takes d6, pretty much forced. Bishop e6, again, pretty much forced. If bishop takes, this is moderately uncomfortable, but also we just play all the obvious moves now in castle, and we have no problems. So it seems more likely that white would play something like d5 in this case. Excuse me. And then we have the opportunity to go knight e5, hitting the queen and the bishop at the same time. Let's get rid of this thing. And of course, queen e2 would not be very dangerous at all. Either c takes d5 or bishop takes d5 should be totally winning. So at least white tries to discomfort black slightly with this double check. But after king takes f7, again, once the center liquidates and we get a set of minor pieces off the board, like our king's on f7, but there's no threats really, like queen h5, g6, queen f3, knight f6, or even queen f6, and queen c4 is impossible because of this. And so we're just going to go knight f6. Like, for instance, bishop e3, knight f6. Castle's long was Jung Helt, Bremen 2014. It is important for black to be moderately careful for one more move. Bishop e7, which was played in the game, would be sort of annoying for black after bishop f4 because you can't get out of this pin now. So I would recommend in this position instead you either go queen e7 or queen a5 to get out of this pin first before bishop f4. All right, so after c6, that was queen f3. We just go d5. After castles, we would just go d5 as well, and very similar. E takes d6, bishop takes d6, rook e1, knight 8 d7, and it's hard for white to avoid just castles. For instance, like d5, you just leave it and you just castle anyway, right? So Castle's completely not dangerous. So after c6, I think the best move is queen e2, or at least the most dangerous move. I'm not sure it's objectively much better or much worse than anything else. I think this is all pretty much losing for white, honestly. And in this position, I'm going to recommend a novelty. Bishop b4. Basically developing, clearing out the f8 square for the king in a second, so we can play d5 anyway. And some of the more tactically astute players might notice that bishop takes f7 check is possible here. It is. Castles is also very natural, but let's look at this first. Check, check here. Queen c4. We just go d5. And again, we're giving up this pawn temporarily to accelerate our development a little bit. After e takes d6 check, bishop e6. So this is our free move that we get with d5. Queen takes b4, queen b6. I don't think white has pretty much anything. He's still down some material. This thing's going to fall almost certainly, and yeah, we're just going to develop. We got the threat of the queen trade here. Black's totally winning. So again, like bishop takes f7 is cute, but when you're already down a piece, like a tactic that simplifies down and also kind of frees black's development a little bit is maybe not recommended. So after bishop b4, castles is probably more natural. And it is possible for black to try something a little bit slower. Like, so my recommendation is d5 here and just allowing the double check and going king f8. Reason being because it just kind of frees black's development a little bit. We can even go back, we can go here, or we can develop this way. But if you're uncomfortable with this, it is possible after castles to play something like bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and then knight 8 to e7. You have to be a little bit careful here because f4, f5 is coming. There's a trick. You can castle, f5, and takes. And after here, here, bishop d3, takes. Black is given a little bit of material back. You're just up in exchange now. But you're very solid. There's nothing wrong with your position, and I would say black is probably slightly better here. Probably a little bit less easy overall to win, like, up in exchange, but against the two bishops. So yeah, just think about it. But this line is not that hard to deal with either. So d5, queen e2, bishop b4, excuse me, castles, d5, e takes d6, check, king f8, and again there's bishop takes f7. Slightly more complicated in this case, but similar. We can flick in this check or this capture first. And then white can continue with the in-between desperado. We take this time, queen c4 check. It's also possible for white to just take on c3. We play queen d6 check. That's also fine. King f8, b takes c3, queen takes d6. Rook e1, for instance, queen d5. And I've included a couple more moves, but I don't think white has much of anything here. We're just going to go king f7 and slowly develop our pieces. If we have to protect the b-pawn, we'll go b6, but in general, we're going to play king f7, we're going to put our light square bishop somewhere, our rooks are going to be connected, we're going to go rook e8. So white might be able to work up tiny threats here and there to make you a little bit less comfortable, but in general, I think black's totally winning already. So after e takes d6, king f8, there's also d5, which makes some sense, just trying to open up the game. C takes d5, knight takes d5, hitting the bishop. Obvious, we'll just take it. And now white sort of has to reckon with the fact that, again, like after d5, we've completely liquidated in the center, and that makes it easier for us to like redevelop our knights and our pieces. So like bishop e6 is coming, knight f6 is coming, knight 8 to e7 is also possible. The only thing that we really don't have going for us is our king is on f8, but we're up a piece. So that's what you have to keep in mind. Like, yeah, we played d5, king f8, which looks insane, but we're trying to like free up our development and just slowly work our way back out to being a piece up. Yeah, again, I don't want to bog people down with too many lines. We're just going to go bishop e6. Yeah, it's much better for us. So after e takes d6, king f8. There's also knight e4, which might be sort of the trickiest move. There is one cute little resource you should probably remember if you want to play this line. After knight e4, most obvious move, knight to f6, allows bishop g5. then we go bishop takes d6, and after knight takes f6, we should go bishop e7. In this case, with bishop f6, we can just leave it, and after g takes f6, we're pretty much fine. We'll go king g7, we'll put a rook on e8, we'll go bishop e6 or whatever. It's a little bit trickier when white takes with the knight because of bishop h6 check. So like if we go here, then bishop h6 check, king g8, rook e1 is kind of dangerous. Bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7, queen c4 is a threat now because bishop e6 is not possible because of this additional attacker. And if we go knight f8 to stop that, then there's queen h5 hitting this again. So yeah, it gets kind of dangerous kind of quick. Like for instance, I think like if we go like bishop e6, rook e6 is very strong. And then the other rook replaces it, comes to e1. You have to worry about something smacking on e6 again. So there are some minor problems here if you're not careful, but yeah, we're talking about a refutation here, an actual refutation, which sometimes means like you'll have to find hard moves. So after knight e4, knight f6, bishop g5, bishop takes d6, knight f6, bishop e7, very precise. And yeah, after this we just take on f6 and then again winning. And that's really all I got. So like the core refutation here I think is knight e5, d4, knight g6, e5, knight g8, bishop c4, c6. Again, d5 is also good. It might be slightly more simple, but maybe less good. And then the trickiest is queen e2, bishop b4, castles, d5. E takes d6, king f8. Okay, that's it. That is my Halloween video. I hope you guys dug it. It's been a while. I apologize for that. I know I always say this, but I am trying to find a way to make content more regularly. I think I've been looking through like my analytics, trying to like understand what's going on with my channel, and it appears like people just love opening video, like my opening videos much more than anything else. Some endgame videos people like as well, but in general, people dig opening videos. So I'm going to try and maybe not do like a weekly video, but maybe like a bi-weekly video or something like that, and just do like more opening analysis. We'll see. But I hope you guys liked it. This is Tony Rowe signing out. May you guys have a happy Halloween, I suppose. Bye, guys.